Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and keep watching more details. General Hospital Friday, August 23 recap. Lulu's special visitor hostage lucky. Molly and Kristina will never forgive. General Hospital, GH, spoilers recap for Friday, August 23, reveals that Molly Lansing Davis, Kristen Veganos, insisted her daughter was buried in that grave because of Kristina Corinthos Davis, Kate Mancy, who wasn't planning on giving up the baby at all. Molly ripped into Alexis Davis, Nancy Lee Gran, for always rushing to Kristina's rescue, and wondered if Alexis wanted her law license back to help steal Kristina the baby. After Molly pulled out the custody affidavit, Kristina admitted she indeed wasn't going to surrender her child. Molly went off on another rant about Kristina killing the baby she needed to protect and acted like Kristina didn't know what it meant to love her. Kristina fell to the ground in tears as she kept repeating that she loved the baby. Molly eventually left with TJ Ashford, Taj Bello, and Rick Lansing, Rick Hurst, took off as well after Sam McCall, temporarily played by Lindsay Hartley, glared at him. Alexis and Sam did their best to console Kristina, who was an emotional wreck after Molly's tirade. Meanwhile, Dante Falconeri, Dominic Zamprogna, found Maxie Jones, Kirsten Storms, and let her know that Lulu Spencer, last played by M. Raylan, had been moved to GH due to complications in her recovery. Maxie wound up painting Lulu's nails in her new room and chatting with her since they have weekly visits like this. Although Lulu was planning on telling Dante that she still loved him before she fell into a coma, Maxie kept that news to herself. Maxie knew that Lulu would want Dante to move on, so she noted that he had. Even so, Maxie also knew that Dante's life was incomplete without Lulu. At the PCPD, Harrison Chase, Josh Swickard, got updates on Lulu's setback and pointed out that Dante could love Sam while still having complicated feelings for his ex. Dante assumed Lulu had moved on by the time she fell into a coma, so he didn't think she was dreaming about him now. Back at the hospital later, Dante overheard Maxie urging Lulu to come back to all of them, including him. Laura also talked to Elizabeth Baldwin, Rebecca Herbst, about how she knew most people thought Lulu's situation was hopeless. However, Laura felt that Lulu was a fighter and clearly wasn't ready to give up on her. Once the conversation shifted to Lucky Spencer, Jonathan Jackson, Laura said she wished she knew where he was so she could bring him home. Meanwhile, a shackled prisoner was yanked around in captivity. When the bag from his head was removed, that prisoner was revealed to be Lucky. Despite the rude caller criticizing Lois Cerullo's Rena Sofer voice on the air, she was a hit on Home and Heart. The sales numbers were through the roof, but Lois still worried about her Brooklyn accent and got a pep talk from Brooklyn Quartermain, Amanda Seton. Next, Jordan Ashford, Tanisha Harper, admitted to Portia Robinson, Brooke Kerr, that Rick wasn't well liked around Port Charles. After TJ comforted Molly following her outburst, he told Jordan about the affidavit Molly found and how Alexis was going to help Kristina steal custody. Jordan passed that info along to Curtis Ashford, Donald Turner, and insisted she would have put up a fight. As Molly received more support from Rick, she made it clear that she'd never forgive Kristina for causing the baby's death. Back with Kristina, Alexis talked about all the grief on both sides and hoped her daughters could come together eventually. Kristina warned that she would never forgive Molly for her cruel accusations. General Hospital spoilers say Molly and Kristina still have some face-offs ahead of them, so stick with us for predictions on how far their relationship will deteriorate. On the Friday, August 23 episode of General Hospital, the tension in Port Charles reached a boiling point as old wounds were reopened, and the stakes grew higher for those involved in the ongoing drama. This day was one that few in town would forget, especially Lulu Spencer, whose unexpected visitor turned her world upside down, and the volatile sisters, Molly and Kristina, who found themselves on the brink of a rupture they might never heal from. Lulu's special visitor. Lulu Spencer had been through the ringer lately, dealing with the fallout from her family's endless turmoil while trying to rebuild her life after waking from a coma. The eerie quiet in her empty home was shattered by a knock on the door, one that sent an uneasy chill down her spine. She wasn't expecting anyone, and the hour was late. As she opened the door, her heart nearly stopped. There, standing on her doorstep, was a face she hadn't seen in what felt like a lifetime. Her ex-husband, Dante Falconeri. His eyes were shadowed with the weight of everything he had been through, but there was a softness, a familiar warmth that tugged at her heartstrings. Lulu's breath caught in her throat as a flood of memories washed over her, their whirlwind romance, the battles they had fought together, and the way it all fell apart when Dante left, broken by his experiences. Lulu, Dante's voice was gravelly, laden with emotion. I had to see you. There's something you need to know. Lulu's heart hammered in her chest as she stepped aside to let him in. The house, once filled with the laughter and chaos of their family life, now felt like a hollow shell. The awkwardness of their reunion was palpable, but beneath it simmered a potent mix of unresolved feelings. As they sat down, Dante wasted no time in revealing the reason for his visit. Lulu, it's about Lucky. He's in trouble, serious trouble. He's been taken hostage, and they're using him to get to us. Lulu's world spun. Lucky, her brother, had always been the wild card in their family. A man with a heart of gold, but a penchant for getting involved in dangerous situations. The thought of him being held hostage sent a wave of terror crashing over her. Where is he? Who has him? Lulu's voice trembled as she gripped the arm of the sofa, her knuckles turning white. It's complicated, Dante replied, his expression darkening. There's a new player in town, someone with deep ties to the criminal underworld. They're targeting the Spencers and the Falconeras, and they're not playing around. They're using Lucky as leverage, and they've made it clear that if we don't cooperate, he won't make it out alive. Lulu felt like she was drowning in a sea of fear and confusion. What do they want from us, Dante? How do we get him back? Dante's jaw tightened. They want information, something that only your father, Luke, has. They believe he left clues in a series of letters he sent to Lucky before he disappeared. We need to find those letters, Lulu. They're our only hope of getting Lucky back. As Dante spoke, Lulu's mind raced. Luke's letters, she remembered them vaguely. Old correspondence that Lucky had kept tucked away like treasures. They had seemed harmless at the time, but now they were the key to saving her brother's life. But Luke had always been one for puzzles and mysteries, never making anything easy. We'll find them, Lulu vowed, determination hardening her voice. We'll do whatever it takes to bring Lucky home. Dan nodded, relief flickering in his eyes. We have to move fast. Every minute counts. Molly and Kristina, a sibling bond on the brink. Meanwhile, across town, at the Davis house, another drama was unfolding, one that threatened to permanently fracture the already fragile bond between Molly Lansing Davis and her sister Kristina Corinthos Davis. The sisters had always been close, despite their differences, but the events of recent weeks had driven a wedge between them that seemed insurmountable. The tension had been building ever since Molly discovered Kristina's involvement in a scheme that endangered their family, something Kristina had done with the best of intentions, but with disastrous consequences. Molly, the pragmatist, couldn't fathom how Kristina could have been so reckless, while Kristina, the eternal idealist, felt misunderstood and unjustly judged. The confrontation had been inevitable. As Molly stormed into the living room, her eyes blazing with fury, Kristina knew there was no avoiding it any longer. How could you, Kristina? How could you put all of us at risk like that? Molly's voice was sharp, cutting through the air like a knife. Kristina, standing her ground, met her sister's gaze with defiance. I was trying to help, Molly. You act like I don't care about this family, but everything I did because I wanted to protect us. Protect us? Molly scoffed, incredulous. By getting involved with shady characters who could have gotten us all killed. Do you even hear yourself? You're so caught up in your own self-righteousness that you can't see how much damage you've done. Kristina's eyes filled with tears, but she refused to back down. I made a mistake, okay. I know that, but I don't need you to keep throwing it in my face. You've always looked down on me, Molly. You and Sam both, like you're so much better than me because you don't screw up. Well, newsflash, I'm not perfect, but I don't deserve to be treated like this. Molly's expression softened, just for a moment, as she saw the pain in her sister's eyes. But the anger was still there, fueled by fear and betrayal. This isn't about being perfect, Kristina. This is about you putting our family in danger and not even realizing it. I can't just pretend everything's okay when you keep making the same mistakes over and over. The words hung in the air, heavy with finality. Kristina felt the weight of them pressing down on her, crushing the last bit of hope she had that they could find a way back to each other. Maybe you're right, Molly, Kristina said quietly, her voice breaking. Maybe I am a screw-up, but at least I try. At least I care enough to try. With that, Kristina turned and walked out, leaving Molly standing alone in the silence of their shattered relationship. The door slammed shut behind her, echoing through the empty house like the final toll of a bell. Unforgivable. As the night in Port Charles grew darker, so did the mood in the Davis house. Molly and Kristina's fight was the culmination of weeks of tension, and as they retreated to their separate corners, it was clear that the damage done might be beyond repair. The sisters, once so close, were now strangers, torn apart by choices they couldn't take back and words they couldn't unsay. At the same time, Lulu and Dante's race against the clock to save Lucky had only just begun, a desperate mission that would test their resolve and force them to confront the ghosts of their past. With each passing moment, the stakes grew higher, and the town of Port Charles braced itself for the storm that was sure to follow. In the end, the events of that Friday, August 23, would leave scars that might never heal, and for some, forgiveness might remain forever out of reach.